Apparently, my base has been infiltrated. I've got a lectern here with these guys standing around and some heads and some redstone dust. Not sure exactly what's going on here. Let's go ahead and read what the lectern has to say. Tick tock, I want my beacons back. Well, that doesn't rhyme. Also, they're not his beacons. All right, let's continue. I think you've had them long enough. How about a friendly talk? Are these supposed to rhyme? They like almost rhyme, but not try as much. Try as I might, I cannot find what you've hidden inside your base. All right, I'll show you where they are in a second. That's laughable. I've looked for hours with nothing found. I can only hope to come to a common ground. So that rhymes. That. All right. I think you might know what to do, and it's time for you to give me what's mine. I warn you now, as I'm not of sound mind. Clearly not. Should you hesitate, I might take whatever I find. So that rhymes too. Your time is running out. Why are you still reading this? I'm serious. I want my beacons. Why are you laughing at me? I didn't do anything. I just helped, helped. He helped me by blowing up my trading hall. I heard that and I'm it's like he knows what I'm thinking. How could you say that about me? You might have turned too many pages. Yeah, I actually already checked for redstone dust underneath this thing ahead of time, so don't worry. There's no traps. The second I saw this, I thought, trap. And I went and I flew down underneath and checked. There's no traps. So going to the last page, didn't do anything. We're all good. But apparently AstaZora is a little bit unstable and he can't be trusted. So let's go. Let me go show you how well I hid these beacons. I hid them so well. I'm not surprised at all that he wasn't able to find them. They're right here. There's my beacons. There's his beacons. So apparently Asta can't be trusted though. So it's time to secure those. Let's put my beacons in my ender chest here. And I'm going to take his, I'm going to put them in my vault so he can't get at them. Because let me be clear on something. I AFK'd the Wither Skeleton Farm. I improved the Wither Killer. And then I made 3 shulker boxes of beacons. And I thought it'd be nice to give them to everybody else. But, I mean, like, he didn't help me with any of that. Instead, while I was doing that, he decided it'd be a good idea to blow up my trading hall. Look, only 2 villagers. There's 2 villagers left. And a giant crater. And so I decided that I wasn't going to give him the beacons that I was going to give him. Those aren't his beacons. So I'm going to put them away. He can't have them. We're not going to have any friendly talk or anything like that. They're not his beacons. He can't have them. All right, so I've stowed these beacons neatly away in my vault. Asta should not be able to get at them in here. Geez, man, you do something nice for somebody and then he blows up your base and then he still expects you to do something nice for you. Asta's really losing it. In my last episode, I spoke of a farm that I was working on and I have now been working on for the past week and a half. One of my longtime Discord members, Hamza, recently sent me a video for a spruce tree farm that creates about 120, 140,000 spruce logs per hour, which is amazing. And I was super excited to build that. However, I realized we're missing a log type. Can't really tell here, but there's actually just a piece of black concrete right here where the dark oak log shulker box would be. We don't have any sort of farm that creates dark oak logs. And so I do still want to make that spruce tree farm at some point in the near future, but it really seems like I should have a dark oak tree farm by now. We could really use the dark oak. I love the way dark oak looks. It's good for a lot of different things. And so I've been looking into dark oak tree farms. And in the past, I looked at Ilmango's giant 100,000 per hour dark oak tree farm. And this thing is a monster. And I actually tried to build it one time and I had some issues. But I realized since then that the issues were all related to me pasting it in our creative world. And when you paste things into a server, flying machines and stuff like that, and TNT dupers for that matter, they have a tendency to break. So this thing is all broken. But I could probably get it working, but it's a giant build, which definitely isn't going to sway me. But there are so many possible points of failure in this thing. I'm not sure if I want to build it or not. And then I was looking at another one by Magic Riding and Fallen Breath, and I was going to build this one. This one's about 66,000 per hour, but I ran into a problem where sometimes you'll place the saplings in the wrong place, and it'll actually stall out an AFK session, and you can't really recover from that. And it's because the way the logs are grabbed away while it's operating that sometimes you'll be able to place the sapling in front and not the sapling behind it, and that causes problems. And I've tried to fix it, but the problem is based on how it's pulling the logs away, and that's kind of a structural problem that I can't really seem to fix. So Asta and I started looking into the possibility of building a dark oak tree farm ourselves. And our initial results were pretty promising. We got a pretty fast double piston extender to move the blocks out of the way. We got some really nice leaf crushers, and everything was looking really good. But I continue to work on it, and I cannot seem to get enough saplings out of that thing. The best we've done so far is 76% return on saplings, which means the number of logs you get per hour doesn't matter because you can only use it for however many saplings you have. You will eventually run out of saplings entirely unless this thing returns 100% or more saplings. It's just not a usable farm. I've definitely learned a lot while working on this tree farm. There's some really cool redstone that went into this thing. I was able to get a double piston extender working fairly easily, and I noticed it was very similar to the one that Magic Riding and Fallen Breath had, and theirs was a couple ticks faster. So I took it apart and figured out what made theirs faster, and I was able to adapt it to this build as well. And so we've got this lightning fast double ticks extender there. So it's a very good way to learn is to look at what other people have done, take it apart, figure out how it works, and you might even be able to incorporate it somewhere else. Like I've got a double piston extender up here. I was able to use the same redstone logic to get a really, really fast double piston extender. This one gets out of the way long before any of these other extenders end up inside of the tree area. So the idea here was that the old dark oak tree farms had a lot of piston extenders all over the place, and it ended up with some really complex redstone. And my thought was, now that we have honey and slime blocks available, that maybe I could use those to make some leaf crushers that had a lot more simple redstone and weren't as complex or difficult to build. And I think I've succeeded in some ways, but not in others. Honey and slime actually add some complexity when actually designing it, because you do have to put blocks in front of them because you can't run honey or slime right up against the logs. And that means that you reach push limit a lot sooner. Like this is right here is only 5 blocks tall. This is at push limit because we got 2 extra pistons back here and the extra blocks on the front. And it makes it really hard to have like walls that aren't flat. So if I wanted to come in here and crush this one right here, I would need to add like a quadruple piston extender or have a bunch of doubles with a triple right next to it. And these extra blocks next to it mean that when you're retracting, you can't really have a double and triple piston extender. I would have loved to have done that for the top. You can do it. It just really, really complicates the redstone, and it slows down it quite a bit. So there might be a way to do it. I might still explore that at some point in time, but getting at all these extra leaves on the inside is a little bit tougher with this kind of redstone than it might have been with all the wonky spaghetti redstone that the old dark tree farms use. But I'm still not convinced that I actually can get enough leaves here. So I'm pretty close. All of these leaves don't spawn on a single tree. This is accumulated over several trees. So I think I'm getting this right now. This only gets 68% of the saplings back. And I'm pretty sure we are crushing more than 68% of the leaves. So I'm not really sure. One thing that I do know is that I have made the double piston extender shorter. It's only pushing 4 blocks out of the way in order to make more room for more of the extenders, so more leaf crushers, by getting rid of some of the redstone down here. It's not extended all the way up here. But I think that was actually the wrong decision. It turns out, I think a lot of the leaves actually for smaller trees will spawn inside that 4x4 in there. And when I was moving more of the logs, I was getting better rates. I was, like I said, my highest was 76%. So that's something I might be able to explore in the future, but I'm still not convinced I can actually get enough leaves out of this thing because we're leaving so many logs behind. Leaves might spawn where those logs are, and then they won't spawn, and we miss out on those leaves. And the margins on dark oak trees are so tight that I'm not sure something like this works anymore. I just don't know. But I mean, there's some really cool things that I learned. Like I said, I had a lot of fun. I mean, I think I came up with this triple piston extender. Like, I've got a sample version to show you right here. This is a really cool mechanic using a fader clock, and it is very, very fast as well. It's not quite as fast as a double piston extender, which is to be expected. You've got extra pistons to push and pull back in time and not have, the blocks getting left behind. But still, very cool. I might be able to use some of this redstone on other builds, or I might come back to this at some point in the future. But for now, I have to step away. I mean, I've kind of burnt out on it. I've a little bit run out of ideas. I've got some small ideas, but I'm not convinced that they'll actually work. And so I've got to walk away for now. I might come back to it at some point in the future. This is the first tree farm I've ever tried to build, and I went with one of the hardest trees to do because of how close you have to get with all those leaves, like how many saplings you have to get from these things. It just really complicates the tree farm. So I'm sad that it didn't end up working, but I've learned a lot, and I think we will probably end up building that thing at some point in the fairly near future, and it'll probably be a multi-episode build. I think it'll be pretty cool, and it'll produce a lot of dark oak logs, but I really wanted this one to work. I was excited to be able to build my own farm, and I'm a little bit sad that it hasn't worked. It's definitely unfortunate that I'm not able to build that tree farm in this episode, and I need a little time before I start building that other dark oak tree farm. I need like a week or so that I'm not thinking about dark oak or tree farms in general. And so the next thing I had planned is I wanted to do a whole bunch of work around my floating island. I've been putting off working on the bottom of the floating island for far too long, and I've done some of the work in creative, but I need to finish it up, so I probably won't do it in this episode. I'm already a little behind on this episode because I spent so much time on the dark oak tree farm, and so I will probably continue to work on creative. I want to get the next quarter of that floating island done by the end of the next episode. So hopefully we can get that done. And then there's a few other things around the base that I'd like to get done. There's some cleanup, obviously. We need to clean up this altar to Asta's unstableness. It's no longer Christmas. Clean that up. Clean up the other mess that Asta made. And then I was thinking of finally taking down this building right here, and I talked about building a runway and making it so that we can actually see the hangar. I think that would actually look pretty nice. I don't really need this building here anymore. And then there's some terrain over here that I'd like to work on. So when I changed over this storage building, this pathway no longer matches up anymore. And then I never actually built the terrain around my cactus farm here, and never built any of this terrain over here. So I think this would be a nice opportunity for me to get all that terrain done. And I think that would make a pretty big benefit to the floating island. And then I actually had an idea for a building that I could build to replace the trading hall that Asta blew up. And I'd like to build that. I think that's actually, let me clean up all this mess real quick. And then I think that's the first thing I want to build because it's kind of technical. And I'm still in the mood to build something technical. so I've cleaned up the pathways here. There was quite a bit of damage along these pathways. This one was basically destroyed here. I've cleaned up the ice rink. This is where I was going to put the dark oak tree farm, but I guess we'll just leave it as a blank space for now. And I've removed all the remnants of the old trading hall. And this is where we're going to put my new mass crafting system. It's a mass crafting system by the mechanists. It's very cool. It'll help me craft like 144,000 items per hour. Very, very cool system. So I want to put that here. But before I do that, I need to figure out, it's not really clear from the world download how I will set up these hopper minecarts. So let me go see if I can figure that out first. Okay, so that didn't end up being very hard at all. I was able to figure it out pretty easily. So in case you're wondering if you want to build this for yourself, I will of course put a link down in the description to get to the original video. And basically you've got these 16 hoppers here. We need to get a hopper minecart on top of 4 of them each. So we want to put some stone cutters here so that they're all pointing sideways against the edges of the hoppers like this. And then we need 2 sets of rails. We put some hopper minecarts down, kind of break them apart. Actually, I don't think that part matters. And then we got to remove all the rails. I don't know if this is the way they did it, but if it works, it works. So this is the way I'm going to do it. So we just kind of push all these into the corners. We don't want them to push back on us. So as long as all of them are in the corner, I may need to fly out, but I might be able to just like kind of step out, but I got to worry about that kind of stuff. I don't want them pushing around. So flying out might be the easiest approach. And then I remove all the stone cutters without removing the hoppers there. There we go. And then I'll actually put glass on top of one of them because we need to put glass across this whole thing here without bumping any of the hoppers. We want to make sure they don't get moved. And then just use pistons to push those down. Once I've got the glass pushed down under these hopper minecarts, I find that it's useful to turn on your hitboxes, and then you can make sure that the hitbox of the hopper minecart is overlapping the corner hopper on all 4 sides. Pretty important to go ahead and check and make sure that that's true. And then for this next level, this one's actually the hardest level. First of all, we're placing 4 hopper minecarts, so they have a tendency to bounce around a lot. And also we have this comparator. And we push down glass onto this level, you can't push a comparator. We actually have to place the comparator first, and then we need to set up the hopper minecarts 1 level above, and then drop them down onto the comparator. So this level, we're going to use fences to align the hopper minecarts. Then, like I said, we're going to place 4 hopper minecarts. Remove the rail, and then we need glass on the sides here in order to prevent the hoppers from flying off the edge. They have a very big tendency to do this, and then it doesn't work every time, but I found what works best is if you just kind of like walk off the edge and stand there. And it actually worked this time. You just push them all right into there. So that's all we have to do right there. And then we need to remove the glass so these will drop down. And don't worry about how they're all pointing in different angles. That's where the hitbox helps quite a lot. And then on this level, we've got 2 glass right here and 1 solid block right there. And then we just use pistons to push those down. And then the next layer is super easy. It's just an activator rail, has to be an activator rail, and then 4 hopper minecarts on top of that. 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's all I have to do to set that up, although I do have to do it, I think, 10 times throughout this whole thing. So let's build ourselves a mass crafter. All right, so I've loaded up the schematic for the mass crafting system. You can see it's not really that big at all. It's actually kind of a small machine. It's going to give me some extra room around my base. That's actually pretty nice. You see there's quite a lot of room back here. So I'm actually going to pull it back a few blocks. I want to set up some storage because if I craft a bunch of planks in order to make pistons, I want to be able to just leave them here instead of having to put them through my sorting system. If I craft up a bunch of torches, if I craft iron blocks into iron, I want a little bit of extra storage. Let me pull it back a few more blocks. I'm not sure exactly where. That should probably be good. Probably 1 forward. I think that's where I want to build it. So, yeah, let's start building this thing. It shouldn't be too hard, actually. It's not that big of a build. Man, I was very wrong. This is not a very big build, but it is a very dense build, and it's definitely not an easy build. It took me 6.5 hours to build this thing, and I had to take a break halfway through because it's a very intense build. There's just a lot going on. I kept having to go back from items. There's a lot of different items, so like my inventory was constantly full, and I was constantly trying to find space for other items that I needed. Yeah, this is not an easy build. Definitely not for the faint of heart. It's also a pretty expensive build. It took a lot of hoppers and a lot of observers. Fortunately, I'm going to be able to use this system to craft up more of those, and that'll save me a lot of time getting those items back. And then on top of that, it took a few hundred shulker boxes. Otherwise, if you don't put a whole bunch of shulker boxes in the system, the main engine won't even run on this thing. So if you don't have infinite shulker boxes, I don't even know how you'd use this system because it, you'd have to modify it in some way. I don't know. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about that. I do basically have infinite shulker boxes, so that part wasn't a problem. So the next thing I need to do is I need to test this thing out and make sure it's all working. I've tested parts of it, but I haven't tested the whole thing together yet. Now, before I do that, I want to do something else over here. So I've got this system over here that I set up a long time ago. It's supposed to be an item dispenser to dispense armor and elytra and weapons and kit for you. And I never really used it. I never really got it working the way that I wanted it to work. And I never really needed it in the first place. I really only need an elytra, which I have an elytra dispenser over on that side, and rockets. If I die, I just need an elytra and rockets to go back to where I was, and I never really needed a system like this. So I'm going to tear it out. I'm going to replace it with one of my smaller crafters. And yes, I know I just built a giant crafter, but I think a smaller crafter will be better suited to some of the smaller crafts that you need in order to make the secondary ingredients for some of the items that we want to craft, like turning logs into planks, for example. It'd be a lot easier to do that here and then bring all the planks over to there, and then I can craft pistons. And I think that'll be an easier way to do that. I can even turn logs all the way into chests by just throwing the planks onto the ground, picking them back up and turning them into a chest, and that'll help with hoppers and, turning iron blocks into iron. It'll just be a nice little system to have right here for smaller crafting jobs. And I want to do that, and then that'll help me get the ingredients that I need in order to properly test out the system over there. All right, so I've set up my little crafting system here, and I can come over and grab a few shulker boxes of crimson stems. Let's do 4 for now. And I can come over here and drop them over onto this side. I press the button to dispense one out. Then I can grab them, go into here. I need to select the recipe, and then I can just craft them all right into planks. Do the same thing, just do this over and over again until I've got all the planks laying on the ground. And then I just need to come over to the other side and fill all these shulker boxes with planks. So I think this is going to be a little bit easier for these single ingredient recipes. When I just need to do something like this, this will be an easier way to do that. And this will load up on planks, and I can just take those over to that system. So let me do the same thing with iron blocks into iron ingots. And then I will go over to that system, and we can test it out and make sure that everything's working properly. For the initial test, I'm going to start out kind of timid. So I'm just going to make 1 stack of pistons here. So let me set up my recipe. Should be that. And then if I open this up, let me set the recipe. There we go. So that's the recipe we need. So we need 1 in each of these. Let's make sure we actually set it up properly. And I don't think it matters if I get that wrong. I don't know which one's right and which one's wrong. I don't really care. I don't think it should matter. It's all just going to end up in my inventory. And then this one. There we go. So let's go ahead and crack these. And then what I do is I just place 1 in each of these slots here. So let's do the planks here. Planks, planks, cobblestone, 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 cobblestone. Again, I don't think it really matters, but there we go. So that's everything there. So let's go ahead and I guess we just stand on this and it should dispense items to us. Yep, we're getting items. And so we would just start crafting. And I think that's most of it already. That was really quick. I don't know how many we crafted. Let me wait for this to finish up. I'll push this button to force the unload, and we'll see if we got a clean stack there. And it looks like we did. It does have 2 choker box loaders down there, so we're not going to get quite an even amount. And for some reason, there's 20 and 44. It's probably one gets loaded first and the other one's an overflow. So that's a clean stack. That's a good sign. So I've got all the rest of the items here. So we got all the items minus 1 stack. So yeah, let's try out the whole thing. I think I put the planks over here. So there we go. Let me see if I can get that one working. I don't know, I feel like it's not giving me the cobblestone in the right slot. It might be coming in too fast. I'm gonna overload here. The system seems to be working. Some of this might be user error. Also, I accidentally put 2 of the same box into 1 slot. And so, yeah, now my inventory is full. And I'm gonna get, oh, that wasn't very good. I'm gonna get kicked out here. That wasn't very good at all. Because it's got an overflow system. It's actually got a safety feature that when this gets too overloaded, it should actually bump me out. Oh, we actually got enough items. I'm just not... Oh. User error. I'm pretty sure a lot of this is my own fault. I actually didn't end up overloading the system, but I do have a bunch of junk in my inventory that I can't really do anything with. And the output, that's about what I'd expect from something like what I did there. So again, I think this was my own fault. The system seems to be working properly. I just threw too many planks into the wrong slot. I tried to go up and fix it, but it had already unloaded them. So it's very fast unloader. So once you made a mistake, there's not much fixing it. I don't know if there's a cutoff system to I don't think there is. Either way, not really super worried about it. That's plenty of pistons. I don't really need any more pistons. I'm just going to throw this into my sorting system and let it figure out all the mess that I created there. And then the next thing I want to try out is I ran out of hoppers while making this. So I'd like to craft up a few choker boxes of hoppers. And we'll see if that works well. So that time around it was nice and smooth. It looks like it doesn't quite split them evenly or anything like that, which I guess is fine. But that is definitely a clean 2 choker boxes of hoppers. That'll help out quite a bit. And yeah, this thing is a really cool system. I love this a lot. This will be very, very helpful. What I'm probably going to have to do next is craft up a whole bunch of torches, because torches are kind of a pain. I can't really use that little crafting system for torches. So I'm probably going to have to craft up like many choker boxes of torches and just sit them aside in this storage area that I've set up here. And then I'll have them on hand when I need to craft comparators and repeaters and stuff like that. I think that'll be pretty helpful. But yeah, this is a really cool system. I really like this quite a bit. So that's all I have time for today. I want to thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy this episode, and I hope to see you again real soon. Bye now.